where we share ideas and recipes on how you can stay healthy naturally. And I'm your host, Grace Enemali. And in case you are coming across this channel for the first time, can you hit the subscribe button so that you'll be notified whenever I am here. Now I want to talk about an important aspect of our health, which is constipation. But this time around, in older adults. And who are the older adults? Okay, in my own definition, of older adults are those from 60 years and above, maybe in their 60s, 70s, or 80s. You may have your own definition. That's what I have, how I see the older adults. And so when constipation, and what exactly are we talking about? When this category of persons, whether male or female, are not able to empty their bowel for several days, say 2, 3, 4 days or more, then that's constipation. And that's not healthy. I've often said that one of the hardest things for our body to deal with is dealing with waste, taking out waste. It's one of the hardest jobs, and it's even more when we are getting older. If only we can take out this waste or help it to do this job, I'm sure the work will be easier. You're welcome to the house, my dear. We're talking about dealing with older adults, those who are in the 60s or above, dealing with constipation. And constipation is not something we should, joke with. Just the same way we should not joke with diarrhea. But constipation appears to occur more frequently. My sister Ngozi Amadiob, you're welcome. Yes, you're welcome to the house. And thank you for commenting. And so, when older adults, yes, I can see 2 more people in the house. When people who are 60s and above, that's my own definition of older adult, are not able to empty their bowel, then that's constipation, and it's something serious. And so today I want to share a few of the tips, ideas. Tony Oduase, you're welcome, my dear, my brother, you're welcome to the house. So if they are not able to, eliminate the waste in a couple of days, older adults, and I define these older adults to be those in their 60s, 70s. That's my own definition anyway. And so if they are not able to, go and empty their bowel for a few days, that's constipation, and it's something that calls for concern. Yes, we need to deal with it, but it's not something actually to be worried about or start running around for over-the-counter medication. In the past, this old school idea was popular, whereby if people are not able to empty their bowel, they go to the pharmacy or go and get over-the-counter medication and take it to help the system to ease out. That's not a healthy way. And some attribute it to worms. Of course, one of us commented that worms could cause it. We attribute it to a lot of things. But one singular word I put together for it is toxic overload. That's what it is. And all the waste put together, doesn't matter how they come about, all those wastes that the body does not need, they are under one umbrella. I put it, toxins. The body does not need them. The body has already taken out what it wants to work with, to build with, to repair the body with. And so the ones that are not needed are put out for elimination. And so whereby these ones are not taken out in the right time, within the, well, some people scientifically could say within 6 hours, within 12 hours, within so number of hours. I don't have such scientific arrangement on, but one thing is that it ought to go out within a few hours. 12 hours is okay. The ones that are not needed. Some people, depending on how your own system works or is, some people immediately they finish eating, according to them, 2-3 hours, they go and empty their bowel. But if yours is not like that, it doesn't mean that you are sick or something is wrong with you. Our body varies and varies. Some people, it has to be in the morning. Some people, it's every morning they go to the toilets. Some people, is every other day. So you don't have to worry because yours is not like Mr. B. But you should worry if a whole day has passed and you have been eating and you are not able to empty your bowel and it entered the second day. You don't even have to worry. It happens to me like that. And the second day, all you need to do is to increase the antioxidants in the food. Increase the live foods. What do I call live foods? Foods that are raw. You have to increase them in the next day. If after the first day you have been eating all the stuff and you did not ease out or go to any toilet or empty any bowel, so the next day, the best thing to do, instead of eating cooked food, maybe they cook beans or something, anything that has passed through heat, instead of going on that, you know that the body is already under pressure. You will not be sick physically, but inside of you, there is already a pressure on the healthy cells by the dead ones. Yes, those toxins, they are already putting pressure on the healthy cells, making them uncomfortable because two of them cannot stay together. And so if allowed to stay longer, they continue to, make the environment uncomfortable, and even they release more toxins. And at some point, if nothing is done, the person could be sick because of that. Because I have said that one of the things that happens why we say we are sick, sometimes toxic overload. When the toxins are not able to go out, after some time, the healthy cells will become like uncomfortable and the person starts running temperature. It starts manifesting. Like in older, for instance, it has different ways to show itself. Like in my own case, for instance, if I do not empty my bowel for about a day and the second day running, my sleep won't be smooth. It won't be smooth. It will be like scanty. It won't be deep until I empty my system. That's how it works with me. But in some people's own case may be different. They may not have to have the same experience with me. Their body may have different ways of also showing that it's under pressure. And sometimes it could also manifest in not having appetite to eat more food. The obvious reason it could be because the toxic waste are still in the house. And so there won't be, clean space. When I mean clean space for the new food to come in. So the environment could be toxic and the person may not have the appetite to eat. Both in younger children, in little children, and For little children, sometimes they could do various things to eliminate those waste, and sometimes they could even get to over-the-counter medication. I remember very younger children, there's that medicine we normally buy, it looks like chalk or something like that. In those days, they give it to the baby, and in a few minutes or thereabout, the baby will just, we just push out the waste. But for older adults, you don't have to rush for over-the-counter medication, obviously, because once you take in something that is not natural, the body is already having work to do. You are bringing in another work for it to do. That's exactly what is going to happen. You are bringing in, and the organs that are suffering is the liver and the kidney. And so when you go get another something like a medicine to help yourself, that particular thing is going to also introduce its own toxins, maybe in small amount, but it has to come in with an additional workload for the kidney and the liver to deal with, whereas it's already dealing with excess toxins. And they are actually the organs that suffer most when we are not regular. In fact, when we are not regular, if you ask me, the organ that is most under stress is the liver. But you may not know this, but I know. As soon as you start becoming regular, the liver gets moving again. And that's why it's so interesting to also know that of all the internal organs in our body, the one that has the capacity and the ability to heal and revive most is the liver, our liver. And again, the one that is often more easily injured is also the liver. And God is so kind. In as much as it doesn't like stress. When you are stressed, it's the one that's most stressed. Because it's the one that seems to work the highest. And that's why when people are diagnosed with liver problems, they get worried. When people are diagnosed with kidney problems, they get worried. They know that most likely they are just counting days to leave the earth. And that's why we should be very, very, careful with these toxins, because they pose a lot of danger to these important organs that help us to process food, help us to process all kinds of processes that go on internally. And so if the waste are not taken out, I'm taking a little time to explain how this constipation comes about and the dangers that it poses to our health, and why we should also not joke with it. And then finally, how are the things we should do when it happens. And I already, in this first instance or segment, highlighted something that I do when I observe that something like constipation is already brewing. The next thing to do is to reduce the foods that are cooked. Because when you consume cooked food, it goes in and sits there because it requires special digestive enzymes to get, digested and then absorbed. And then most times, if the old ones are still in the house, the waste, it's not likely the new processing of this so-called cooked food that we always love becomes difficult. And when it's not processed, it joins the toxic over waste. It joins the waste to go. If it's not processed within a few hours, it's going to join the ones that are under the waste category to be the ones that are going to be disposed out of the body. And you wouldn't like food that you have eaten not to be used for you or bodybuilding to be part of the waste. So the proper thing to do to help to reduce the pressure and then to start relieving the constipation is to increase the raw foods. category of raw foods, of course, those that has water. You know, like cucumber, it has water. You have to remove the peels. You have almost all of them have water. This small water, and there lies a lot of minerals. You have it has its own water. The apples, it has its own water. You have the oranges, it has its own water, and most of them, watermelon and the rest. But why I need to look at it more closely is that there is a popular belief when you are going through constipation. The elementary aspect, I will call it, people just ask you, go take fruit, go take fruit. And you will always hear this from younger persons who have not experienced the more difficult kind of constipation in older adults. Now, when you say go take fruit, it's good. I have had some kind of stubborn constipation that does not even respond to fruit. I mean, some kind of fruit. You have to be selective when you are saying go take fruit, because majority of the fruits are high in sugar. And remember that we are talking about dealing with constipation in older adults. And so when you are dealing with constipation in older adults, foods like papaya is a superfood to get rid of constipation in a few hours. But if you recommend papaya, for instance, for an older adult, papaya is quite high in sugar. Now, suppose that person is a pre-diabetic, which is the case of most older adults. Suppose that person is a diabetic already. Some diabetics are not diagnosed. They are moving about. I've said this before, and I need to re-echo it. A lot of people are pre-diabetics. If you ask me, 95% of adults who are close to 60 or in their 60s are already pre-diabetic. But I know some people may argue with this, but that's the truth. The first time I heard this from a nutritionist in a teaching hospital, I also laughed and said it's not true. It was several years back, just like some of you will laugh, say, what's Mama talking about? That, yes, I said, I'm not saying 100%, but I tell you precisely that most people, I have heard people who died suddenly, 61, 62, 63. Yes, and they died of diabetic complications. And these are people who were said not to be diabetic. People whom I heard, they weren't diabetic. So if you weren't diabetic, where did diabetes complication come about? What it simply means or is saying is that there was diabetes over the years, but the person didn't know about it. And that's why all the older adults should take precaution. Don't tell yourself that you're not diabetic. You should understand that your body's ability to manage sugar has reduced, and it's reducing over the years. And so you don't have to wait until the laboratory confirms you're diabetic. Now, when you listen to some of my videos that I talk about managing diabetes, it is, of course, you can easily say, Mama is diabetic. Not at all. But somebody within my age range, and more so if you have a family history of diabetes, then when you are in that age range, you need to be aware of how you consume sugars. And not only you, all the people within that age range, whether you be male or female, we should not deceive ourselves. I know that some people's ability to manage sugar is better, especially when stress is not involved. Because stress, poor sleep, which is something that occurs amongst women when they are going through menopause, when they are going through hormonal imbalance, estrogen activities, and their brain is beginning to produce less sleep hormones and all those things. And they begin to go through sleep deprivation. When those things begin to happen, my dear, your body's ability to manage sugar also is reducing. If you don't have a quality night's sleep, your body's immune system is low automatically, whether you be male or female. And this poor sleep or sleep deprivation, as I may call it, amongst other adults, obviously contributes to their body's ability to manage sugar. So it's not easy. Even the high blood pressure, the high blood sugar, and several other ailments, they seem to pick their root from some of these things in the older adult. They seem to pick their root from there. And so when these things are beginning to occur, they begin to have its toll on our overall health. So some of us, over time, you may discover, some people say they have diabetes, they have high blood pressure together alongside, because most of the people that I have interacted with privately, surprisingly, they complain of high blood sugar, and they also say they also have diabetes. Only one person. And that goes to tell you that the cause, there is a common cause. And that common cause is what I am talking about today. Toxic overload is one of the common causes leading to most of these diseases. The body is not able to eliminate that waste within a specified time. If you are somebody that is driving or at risk of diabetes, you go and check your sugar. Obviously, it is going to be high. If you do not empty your bowel for a few days, if you are someone that is treating through the high blood pressure side, obviously, if you are not regular in a few days, your blood pressure begins to rise and begins to seem like it's not easy to be managed. Obviously, the reason is this one singular cause. Toxic overload is driving everything together. But if you clearly, successfully empty the waste, all those things we call constipation, sometimes you may not need medication. That's what I know about. Everything begins to settle. The internal balance begins to set up. And without medication, you could just discover that your blood sugar is becoming normal, your high blood pressure is becoming normal. And that's why we should not always be in a hurry to rush for medication. If you are going through constipation, deal with it first. After dealing with that constipation, that high blood sugar could just start to drop gradually because the toxins are out. That high blood pressure could just start going down. But if you are going through if you are going through constipation and the constipation is still there, and you go taking your medication for high blood pressure, you go taking your medication. Some people like medications a lot. Someone was asking me this morning, say, does it mean that we should not take drugs? I didn't respond to that question because I don't know, is drugs part of our life? Were we born to be taking medications? Is it compulsory that we must take medications? And so if that is what you believe, I don't believe that. You can live your life without depending on medications. I don't take any medication for whatsoever, whether it's diabetes, high blood pressure, arthritis. If you're already taking it, you can still work to regain your health. And one of the causes is this point I'm talking about. We've talked about this constipation at least more than once or twice here in this channel. And I don't feel anything, whether there's too much repetition. The repetition cannot be too much because the need is there. People are still asking questions. The challenges are still there. People are still dealing with it. They don't know what to do, and they don't know the risk involved. And so, having said that, what should we be eating? Some people have said water therapy, fine. You've taken water. Have you ever tried the water therapy and nothing seemed to be moving? If you have not tried it, I have. There are some constipation. You take water therapy, do everything. You won't go to anywhere. They will sit there. And I've said there are some also. I've also had occasions where take water, do everything. The constipation is sitting there. So after you've tried all of that, taking enough water, and you are eating well, and this is a point that I've not raised before, and I need to raise because it has happened to me before, several years ago. If you are eating very little quantity suddenly, and before then, maybe you were raised to eat larger meals. I mean, eat well. Some people were raised that way. Yes, someone like myself. Such people, if you get to a place and you just suddenly, maybe a nutritionist or a dietitian just say, you shouldn't eat more than 2 spoons of rice or 3 spoons of rice. That's what you should be taking. That's your portion. That's the, what do they call it? Some people say, give me an something idea. I mean, give me a table, the kind of timetable and the portion and the whatever, how they eat their food. If the nutritionist has given that to you, and you are following it, and that has not been the way you're eating, that could cause chronic constipation. It has happened to me. You will be eating, but the body will not have enough. You eat that little food, you will still not, you will not empty your bowel. Everything will be there. Several years it happened to me. I tried everything. They say use fiber. I put fiber. It didn't work. I do water therapy. It didn't work. I take all kinds of things. It doesn't work. But what finally worked to ease my constipation, but that was more than 10 years ago, was eating food in the morning. Enough food, not just enough food, enough quality food. Food that comes with proteins, fats, fiber, and whatever. When you add it and eat the portion that your body, you know you are okay, then wait for the body to push out the new food, to push out the waste. But when we bring in just piecemeal, very little, like I used to do, ignorantly, then when it gets in, it's not enough. It doesn't have the force. It doesn't have the push to exit the waste. The waste may even be more in number. And then 2 of them will be sitting there. None is larger enough to push out the other. And so that was an experience I had. And I've never, after that experience, I've stopped following people's portion. I mean, portion control, what we call portion. If they give you 1 slice of maybe yam or whichever, or a spoon of rice, and you're okay, that's okay for you. But it may not be okay for me. And I'll go for what is okay for me. So that was the mistake I was making then. And after I learned that secret, I've never had all those kind of chronic constipation that could last for 4 or 5 days. I've had it. I've been through it. And that's why I said, let's talk about it. I've been through it. You stay for days, 4 days, 5 days, and you are eating. And the obvious thing about your eating is that you're eating little foods. You are afraid to eat larger quantity because of your health, because you're trying to achieve something, or an idea was given to you that you should do this in order to lose weight. When you're not doing it to lose weight, the body is saying, this food is not enough. So I'm not going to release those ones that are with me. We will all stay here together. And so that's exactly what happens. And so in that case, the only medicine is, after your water therapy, eat sufficient meals. I'm not saying processed carbs. I'm not saying go eat bread, or eat whatever. Eat real meals. Meals that have life. Meals that contains leafy greens, vegetables, fats, proteins. Eat good meal in the morning. You will be able to. Food that have fiber. Oats has soluble and insoluble fiber. Now, in the older adult, something that could cause constipation, let me highlight it a little bit based on my own experience. Sometimes an older adult may be going through insulin resistance, and that insulin resistance may pose as constipation, and people will not know about it. And as long as you are bringing in food that will not deal with the cholesterol, will not deal with food that will not break the insulin resistance. Because what I see as insulin resistance, that thing poses as a resistance. And when it's there are certain foods, protein-rich foods, certain foods that have ability to break that insulin resistance. There are few foods like that. Coconut oil is good in breaking through such stubborn insulin resistance. Avocados is good in breaking such stubborn, because avocado is also raw. Some of them are held together by yeast, and that's what people call worms. Well, we can tag all of them as worms. And so when the insulin resistance is there, you will look at it and call all of it constipation. And you have been trying to deal with, whereas you're dealing with constipation, you're not having the insulin resistance in your mind. So you need to have in mind also that it could be the person have been taking too much starchy foods. Some people are consuming unripe plantain every day as if it is high in protein. Yes, that's the mistake people are making. Whereas they need to focus on protein, they focus on unripe plantain. And the worst part of it is that some are using the dried powder of it, which is even worse. And so when they are taking it, over time, it builds up the insulin resistance, unknown to them. But because they have been told that it releases its sugar slowly, which is true. And because we have been told that it's a good food for diabetes, which is true. Yes, because it releases sugar slowly. But we haven't been told that it's not a protein-rich food, that we should eat frequently and more, larger, so that the body does not need it to build new cells. What it has is resistant starch. And starch is starch. The starch cannot convert and become protein when it enters the body. And so if we continue consuming the unripe plantain in an older adult, which is what many of them are eating, many of us, they'll be eating the unripe plantain. Some we have it at our backyards. Thank God, we don't need to buy it. So we just keep eating the unripe plantain every day. I've been to the village and I see although most of them are late now, I see what they give to the older adults, nothing more. Because beans gives them gas. They complain beans is giving them gas. We say meat is not good for their heart and cholesterol. Fine. We say or meat is acidic. Fine. The meat is not even available. It's expensive. So they don't have the meat to eat. So we say egg is high in cholesterol. Okay, they've taken egg out. They say milk also is inflammatory. Milk is not the food for older adults. Fine. Every day take off their hands. So most times they stay with only unripe plantain and be eating it. And I have had people with diabetes, not one, not two, not three, who have come to me because their drug doesn't seem to be working. The sugar is rising. And upon investigation, I found out that their meal was basically plantain. Some are eating fresh plantain. Some are eating, some that are in faraway countries are eating plantain flour powder and whatever. And so that's what they are eating. Because our men, we like swallow. So They buy larger number of it, and they make swallow from it on a daily basis. And if the insulin resistant, if this thing continues and the body cannot use it as protein to build, over time, it seems to begin to build up a form of resistance, which I will call the building up of insulin resistance. May not be using scientific names or whatever, but that's the way I see it. I've also tried consuming plantain as a healthy food for older adults. But I have also found its own shortcomings. It's not a circulatory food. I am not trying to say that the unripe plantain is not a good food, but the way we embrace it is the same way we embrace wheat. Wheat with all the gluten, we embrace wheat. If you go to the market, you see a lot of people are grinding wheat. Nobody cares to listen what you're saying. They have been told by their doctor that this is their last hope. So they are grinding and blending wheat, even with all the health challenges it's posing. They're not knowledgeable about it. They are not aware that it's the wheat that's causing the problem. So they continue eating it. The same thing that happens to plantain. In fact, some people, as I'm talking, they are very angry as you are watching me. So why is Mama talking? Is she saying we should also not eat plantain? Then what should we be eating? You can as well ask me, what am I eating? Yes, we should be reducing our dependence on such foods. They do not support proper blood circulation. And because they don't do it, they can easily build up like a resistance over time. And then we say the person is having constipation. So when that resistance is there, sitting down in our gut, we call it constipation sometimes. And so we are trying every other thing and saying that we want to, the constipation is not moving. Please, if you are experiencing such chronic constipation, and you are still consuming plantain, take it out first, my dear. Give it a break so that the problem it created, the insulin the resistance it has created, you can deal with it. So when you finish dealing with it, which was showing off as constipation, you can return it, but you now take it sparingly once in a while. Not make it every day. They are cooking plantain or they are pounding plantain as swallow. It must be plantain or nothing else. And so you now have to reduce it and take more of foods that can help support proper blood circulation. Sweet potatoes is better when you are dealing with a high cholesterol or you are dealing with insulin resistance. It's more nutrient dense. It's high in vitamin A, potassium, a lot of nutrients that your body needs. And that's what we are talking about. Consuming nutrient-dense food, not just starchy stuff. And when you are dealing with constipation, sweet potato is a better option. You need to take off or take a break from unripe plantain. It's going to make it worse. So what I'm saying, and I try to go live, is some people are still, why that constipation is going on, because they have a very few quantity of foods left to choose from. So when they look around, there's nothing. They go ahead and eat their unripe plantain, and it will continue to mount up on the resistance that's already existing, which we are ignorantly dealing with as constipation. And so if you take out, remember our slogan, you must discover or stop the cause of the disease before the cure. You can't be trying to cure the disease while feeding it. So you need to take out the thing that is feeding that disease. If that is unripe plantain you're eating for an elderly man or an elderly woman, and the person suddenly starts experiencing chronic constipation, then you need to look into the foods. If plantain is there, you take it out first. Unripe plantain, yes, you heard me. Unripe plantain, if it's there, you take it out first and let you deal with the constipation, because it's going to tighten it up more. It's not going to help you fight the constipation. So you need to understand the cause of the problem before the cure and stop feeding it. So that is a tip to help if you are dealing with constipation in older adults. You need to know the cause, remove the cause, and then you begin to experience an improvement. Then another thing that also helps in terms of constipation in older adults is the place of probiotics. There are times when I've tried to handle constipation, and when it is resisting almost everything, it still happens. It does happen from time to time. What I normally do is I just take out time and go get my fermented millet. If I've been lazy about it, if I've been, careless, sometimes I could stay for weeks, months. I won't take it, maybe because of the time to go get it, do procedure stuff. I'm too busy. But when a constipation comes knocking and seem to be resisting all the other things, I'll stop whatever I'm doing and go out to get that one. And it always does not fail. I tell you the truth, it doesn't. You go and get a millet and ferment it, or you get already fermented one. Then the market, if you don't have, buy it. Not white ogi. Some people are so fond of white and yellow ogi. It's good for children, for growing children. It doesn't have protein. When you talk, they say ogi, white ogi. They are taking white ogi. They are taking. Is it because it's white that we love it, or it's yellow? Yellow has a little bit carotene, but we're talking of protein for the adult. What is missing? What we are looking for, which is hardest to find, is protein. And it's protein that can break insulin resistance, which sometimes is the secret or the enemy hiding the constipation. Sometimes it could be cholesterol, bad cholesterol, sticking out like wax. And if it's bad cholesterol that is hiding the constipation, you may be taking normal things to deal with it won't move. The only thing that will move it is when you bring in things with cholesterol in mind. Have soluble fiber like oats, some type of vegetables. I need to say it. Not when you are dealing with constipation or not all some vegetables are found to also contribute. The vegetable that you can focus on a little is water leaf. Yes, water leaf is easier to digest and it helps to deal with constipation. Okra is good. Why okra is also good is because it has this mucilage that is able to grab the cholesterol, and it can also help with insulin resistance in case it's insulin resistance. If you try making okra a regular feature in your diet, and you don't take much of the carbohydrates, and you prepare it with some proteins, fermented stuff, like if you take it more frequently, it's going to start to deal with the cholesterol because of its nature. And even if it's the insulin resistance, it's going to also begin to deal with it gradually. And over time, you will start feeling better. You start feeling regular. Yes, you start feeling better. You start feeling regular. That's about it. So these two things are always a secret that hides constipation in older adults. And most times we will be making efforts, trying everything, but until you bring in, you have cholesterol in mind. One, you also have insulin resistance in mind. And then thirdly, you may now put your constipation. And the other ones are the underlying cause. So if you are dealing with something like this type of constipation, put something like oats. Add cocoa. Cocoa is good for colon health. This bitter cocoa. Don't add milk. Don't add sugar. Reduce your sugar. Add that cocoa to the oats. You can add protein if you have soya beans. to the same. I have one that I put the picture in my gallery. Maybe if I have a way to upload it to the community as a photo, I may do that. So when you add like oats, not too sticky, not too thick, and you put cocoa, this bitter cocoa, as a breakfast, for instance, after your water therapy, and you now add something like dates. Date is good for colon health too. Either the date powder or the date fruit. Because if I say honey now, I myself am not relying on honey because there's too much of fake honey. A fake honey is more dangerous when you are talking of food. So instead of the fake honey that's all over the place, we can go for date, because you can see that date, we have less of adulterated or fake date. We don't have it. We have so many of it in the market. You can buy the seed, you can buy the process it to your date syrup, or you can use the date powder if you can dry it effectively, or buy already dried one into powder. So if you add it to a breakfast that has fiber, soluble and insoluble fiber like oats, you could discover that after a few use, you start feeling better. And if after taking it, before it, you start your breakfast with one large green apple after your water therapy, if you are dealing with constipation in older adult, let the person start with one apple and cucumber, put it together. You can put a little, cut like half avocado, put a cucumber, remove the peels, then cut some carrots in the morning. I'm talking of after water therapy, what you should start the day with. Please mark this, and if you can put it down, do whatever. After the water therapy, with a dash of lemon juice, the next thing that you should prepare for the older adult that's going to chronic constipation, just take this note. Scrape some carrots, please. Scrape it if you can. If the person up to 70, you cannot chew the carrot, bring it, scrape it with a scraper or whatever. Get some quantity, then get some quantity of cabbage, little cabbage, put it, then put some quantity of cucumber, remove the peels, put it more of it since it's not sweet. Then after you put it, get green apples, remove the peels, remove the seeds. If you can put it, you can blend it together. Fine, I don't normally blend, but if you have what it takes, if you can't blend it together, if you don't have light, you don't have all you need to blend it together, no problem. Just slice it very, very small and crush the carrot because of the hardness. If the person is up to 70 something and he may not be able to chew, do everything and let the person take it after water therapy and allow those things to go in. These are food. These are food that can deal with constipation. These are what we call detox foods. You can take it. These are food that when it gets in, it begins to clear the way. And by the time you take something and wait for an hour or two, that's after water therapy. If you take any protein food, whether it's black-eyed cowpea or boiled egg or anything, I bet you, just give yourself a little time, you will go to toilet. You can go try this thing. I've told you. It works, especially for older adults. Because some older adults too, if there is a diabetic person, sometimes their body may even not like grains, which some of us are going for. We don't know that grains are good in moderation. And the older you get, the less of it you should take. And so sometimes if the fermented millet does not give result, no problem, you don't need to worry. You try this one I've just told you. Try it and then give it to the other adult. And when you do, let it go alone. Don't mix it up with other food. Like I used to see some people online, they mix it up with the cooked food. No. If there is an existing constipation, don't mix it with any cooked food. Just do all these raw foods I said. Carrots, a little cabbage, blend them together, put a cucumber, put green apple, remove it, do it together, and let the person take it. And after taking it, give it enough time. Don't eat any other thing. That person is going to, by evening time, it's not going to be immediate though, because it's not over-the-counter medication. You know, some of us, we want the thing sharp, sharp. When you take natural things, get this message, like in the morning, the time you will see the result in something like constipation is it towards evening. When you now go, maybe towards afternoon, when you now go to the toilet, it will shock you. It will shock you the way the thing will clean up. And then in some cases too, before you take it, you take olive oil with garlic on empty stomach. That one works too. Before you take these ones I mentioned now, you take olive oil with either 2 cloves of garlic, mix it together and just chew it and take it. Before you take the ones I mentioned, the carrot and whatever, you will see how it's going to. Why the garlic and the olive oil works too is because sometimes it could be no fat. There's no good fat, only unhealthy fat, now full everywhere. So the olive oil helps to break through that resistance as well, and then it improves circulation and does a lot of other things. And it seems to work very well when you combine it with garlic. I've found that truly, I've tested it before, and surprisingly, it will give you a good clean. And just ensure that when you take such things, you give them time. Don't expect immediate results, or don't go quickly combine it with another cooked food. Give that one like a medicine and allow it to deal with the toxins, because to deal with those toxins that have been sitting down there for a long time, it's not an easy task. It's something that, you know, the body, you don't have to bring it in with food for digestion again. Just leave the digestion first. Let's work on the waste, how to get out the waste. So when you are taking something like this olive oil and garlic, whatever, before you start on empty, taking it like medicine. Even if it's bad cholesterol, it's whatever is resistance, these two also will break through it. That's the secret. A lot of people don't know. Before you now bring in the whatever carrots, cabbage, and they all have the way they work. I may not have time to give us the analysis, but I know that something like green apple, it goes deeper to deal with toxins. Green apple is very good. And I have had people come back to me to testify. Just green apple and cucumber is what I recommended for them. And they were good to go. They complained of several days of not being regular. I said, don't worry, just go do this thing. And it was done. And so if you are an older adult or you have one person at home that's experiencing it, you can try this out. You can try using the garlic and olive oil, like 2 or 3 cloves, put it together like in a spoon after water therapy or whatever. Just let the person chew it and use water to take it as if he's taking medicine. Let it go down and begin to work on all those resistance, whether it's cholesterol or whatever that is sitting there. Give it time. And then after that, you bring in real food, carrots, cabbage, apple, to feed the healthy cells, to give them energy. That's the way I see it. To push the unwanted ones out. Because when you bring in the real food, the raw foods, the good ones that the body needs, it helps to push, you give them a push. You give them a better advantage to push out those bad ones. They give them like, you give them a support. That's what they need. Sometimes we don't. Instead of bringing in the support, we go and eat more cooked food with oils and old soup and stews and rice and stews and all this stuff. We bring in more work to do, and we think it's easy digesting all those things. And so there is a long thing. I may not really exhaust everything today, because some of you will should start complaining of data and whatever. But I tell you, it's a very, dealing with constipation in older adults is a bit complicated, but I've faced it at various points. And that's why I said I'll be live so that we'll talk about, I'll have enough time to also bring in some of the challenges I've had dealing with constipation. It's not an easy task. Some of us are looking at it as ordinary constipation. Sometimes it's insulin resistance hiding. Sometimes it's even backed up with cholesterol, bad cholesterol. Whereas we are not having these two in mind, they are and posing as constipation. They won't allow the waste to go out. You know that the cholesterol is a sticky wax, gripping everything together. And you need to have focusing on it too when you are dealing with constipation in older adults. Have cholesterol in mind, have insulin resistance in mind, then finally, before you start thinking of constipation. And that's why a lot of people say they are drinking water, it's not moving. They have taken this, it's not moving. It will not move until you bring in the required materials, soluble and insoluble fiber. Antioxidant rich food like vitamin C, oranges, antioxidant rich foods, it will help break down the insulin resistance. Increase the raw food in the diet of that person. Reduce sugar. If you're taking sugary foods, reduce it. Because if the sugar is high or you are increasing it, it's going to be adding up to the insulin resistance. And the sugar does not have capacity to break down cholesterol. You put in leafy greens, live food, onions, has soluble and insoluble fiber. It's a great one. You make sure you increase the quantity, but when you are doing it, add cinnamon, because onions is also high in sugar. I would like to end this life here now. Maybe at other times. There are so many other things that has to do with when it comes to dealing with adult constipation. It's so wide and broad. So it's not something I may finish today. Maybe at some other times, we may find time to, continue to brainstorm a little about more on it, because all of us seem to be caught up, because we try all the remedies we see online. It doesn't seem to be working. But knowledge can open your eyes. As I've shared with you some of the things I've done over the years to deal with constipation and get results. If that has been your case, I'm sure very soon you will also be singing a new song. Remember to click the subscribe button if this is your first time of coming to this channel or coming across this channel. I want to thank you for coming. Thank you for staying true and for watching. See you again.